What is up, y'all? So I was planning on making this video the previous day. When I'm recording this, it is Thursday, May 4th. I was planning to make a video on Wednesday, just kind of explain how I've been feeling over the weekend and things like that. But I ended up not doing it. I'm actually glad I didn't because, I had some thoughts last night. Not the same ones over the weekend, but I just had some thoughts. I took some time and I was laying in my bed. I had my headphones on, but I wasn't listening to any music or I wasn't listening to anything. I was just kind of in my bed, just laying down, just kind of staring at the ceiling. And I just had some thoughts that I wrote down. I wrote down all these things I was thinking about, and just want to share with y'all, man. So yeah, man, over the weekend, I was having some, you know, depressive thoughts, bad thoughts, um, just kind of, it was, the Saturday, it was hard to get out of bed. It's like, I was sitting on my bed and, it was just hard to get up because that feeling where you just have nothing, you feel like you have nothing going for yourself, where things are gonna happen, but it's just in that moment your mind's trying to trick you to think that nothing's going on. So it got to a point where like I didn't even want to get up because the moment I get up and start my day, Saturday would go by. Like the weekend would start. Like I just didn't want to I didn't want to go back to the weekday. I was like, the moment I get up from this bed, the weekend's gonna start. That's how my mind was. So it was really hard to get out of bed, but obviously I did. And I'll be putting a picture of me during my senior year of high school. Those of y'all who are here for a while, y'all know this picture, but this is during my prom, senior year when I was in Florida. And the reason why I'm putting this picture up will be explained as I go on further in the video, but I just want to start that off. If y'all, want to see the video where I actually went to prom, I did vlog it. Not the whole thing, but I did vlog, me getting ready, me going to the prom, me at the prom, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it's up. If not, I'll put it in the description. Yeah, man. So these are just things that I was thinking about, about high school and, college, even just kind of throughout my life, because over the weekend, besides the thoughts where it was like I didn't want the weekend to start, it got to a point where like things in my head at the time were, thinking that things were so bad that God had forsaken me. I thought that God forgot about me. God just kind of like just put me in a certain position and just, kind of kept me there, which obviously isn't true, but this is what I was thinking. And God brought these thoughts into my head last night as I would just take the time. I wasn't watching any videos, wasn't watching anything, wasn't listening to any music. I was just sitting in bed, just in silence, because it was nighttime, so everybody was sleeping pretty much, and I was just there. And don't mind me if I'm kind of like all over the place with these thoughts. I literally have like a bunch of bullet points here that I was just not noting down my phone last night. Obviously I have it. Well, I mean, it's not obvious because all y'all seeing is a picture right now, but I copied the notes from my phone, put it in a Google Drive so that I could put up my computer and I could record while reading them off. So the first one, man, y'all know I went to two high schools. The first 3 years of high school, I went to high school in Jersey, where I currently live. I was born and raised. And the last year, my senior year of high school, as I said with the picture, is when I was in Florida. So the time where I was in the Jersey high school, even in the Jersey middle school, I was in Jersey the whole time, so. But the Jersey high school and the middle school, Um, Actually, I won't even say middle school. Middle school is just, that's just little kid stuff, right? When it comes to high school, I was full of lust. I was full of lust, and I was quote unquote liking any girl that I was attracted to. Like, how you can walk around and you just find women attractive, like, oh, like, she's attractive, she's beautiful, right? It was this weird thing where I would tell them that I liked them, and like I didn't really know them like that. I guess some of them I knew somewhat, some of them I didn't. But it's like almost every girl that I found attracted to. Obviously, it wasn't like the whole school, but it was like it was a good amount. I would tell them that I liked them, um, and that never worked out. But I don't know why I would just like it was just my way of like I don't know, kind of like trying to pursue something but not doing it the right way. And at the end of the day, I was in high school. I was young. I was what, preteen into teenage years, but sophomore year when the P video started kicking in. Well, I started watching P. Well, I already said before, but I was watching P videos since eighth grade, but I didn't really start doing the D till end freshman year of high school. Um, so the P videos kicking in, man. It was like I started seeking the stuff that's in the videos. I didn't know anything about it. Like, I didn't know the stuff that was going on in the videos because, again, at that point in time, I didn't do the D at all. So I didn't know anything that was going on. But this is weird feeling that I got from watching it, and I wanted to replicate it. And it was like, yeah, man, lust really took a hold of me in high school. There were some, obviously, right? Not everybody in high school is gonna like, oh, be your friend, whatever. We know how high school is, right? And those of y'all who are in high school currently, you're gonna know, or you might know already, right? Um, but it's like there were, and at the end of the day, we know how what it is with men and women being friends, like, you know, we know the whole thing, right? But it's like there were people, there were beautiful women in my high school that I was cool with. I was cool with them. We would like even sit together and like just randomly talk about stuff. And it was good, talk about, if we were in the same class, talk about like the assignment, whatever. But of course, I kind of messed those things up by, bringing like involving lust and everything like that. So, yeah, man, but that's not here nor there, man. Um, and I will say this is the second point. There's like I don't even know how many of them are right now. I can't even count. They're not numbers. They're like just bullet points. Um, so the best time, one of the best times of my life came when I moved to Florida. Because I hit 90 days, and again the days didn't matter, but I hit 90 days twice. I hit 90 days twice. Um, First time was right before school started, and second time was toward the end of school. Um, so it was like when I first started the channel. It was like April 5th, 2016. Shortly after that, like right before I moved to Florida, I had started, I was a streak, quote unquote streak 4, and it was like August. It was like a week before the school actually started. I hit 90 days. I got to like 92 before I relapsed again. The second time was started in February. So my graduation for that school was in May. So I started the second one was a streak. I think it was 15. I remember. Started in February, and that carried me all the way to the end of school. I did make a point about that. I did make a point. I'll talk about later, but I did do that. And it's gonna get a lot more deep and a lot more yeah, it's a lot more deeper as we go in, because the thoughts started off kind of light and then went into darker times, right? Um, so the time that I felt in Florida, right? This entire time I was thinking, I would feel my best in Florida because it's warm all the time. the sun's out. Like, it's so like, it's so awesome down there. And don't get me wrong, Florida is great, right? That's why I want to move back there, right? I enjoy Florida. I always love being there, right? But that's not the reason why, I was feeling my best. Like, I was feeling like amazing down there, to where when I came back here to visit in June, which I did talk about in another point. When I came back to visit in June, like, I was a completely different person than when I lived in Jersey. It wasn't that. It was because I had God heavily in my life. And again, this video isn't going to be the video that I said I was going to do with how God came to my life and things like that. This isn't the video. I want to make that video when I get my car, and that'll be the first video I make in the car, stuff like that. So that's still coming, but that's whenever God says it's time for me to get a car, right? Yeah, man, it's because I had God heavily in my life, and I did. I do talk about this further down the line, so I'm not gonna bring it up now. And forgive me if I take pauses a lot. I want to drink a lot. I want to drink water, in between my talks, just to, I don't lose my voice, could that be annoying? So yeah, let's continue. When I was in Florida, as crazy as it sounds, right? Me being 17 at that point, my mom had relied on me to kind of lead in the way and provide food a lot of the time, because she had started a group home down there, taking care of, disabled people and things like that. And, that took a while to build up. So she wasn't making much, she was just having enough to pay the rents and stuff like that of the house we were staying at. So when I got my job, it was, a big task for me. Well, not really, I'm saying that, like a big task. It was a task for me to, in certain ways, provide food. So like if I have some extra money, I can go out, get my mom and I food. Other times, we had to kind of like make the most of what we had at home. When I was working at Taco Bell and Culver's, any extra food because sometimes people we have extra food, right? So I would bring that home, my mom and I eat that. Just little things like that, times where I really had to step up. Cause my dad was still in Jersey. Like he wasn't moving yet because of his job, but yeah, man, I really had to step up during that time, and that's one way that God kind of took care of us. And again, like I said, there's a lot of points that it does get deeper, so I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'm not going to rush it or anything like that. All right, so next point. My mind was focused and clear during the time because I needed to be. Just with things being very tough down there, and it being such a drastic change for me, which I do talk about. I'm sorry, I keep saying I realize it, but like I go into it in points, with a lot of things down there. It was a big change, It was a big change. Me being in high school, and high school would be like kind of like a carefree years and things like that, But in a way, it kind of was still, but in a way, it wasn't as well. Had some responsibilities, It's definitely a different situation, but God carried me through. So, next point. With having such a close relationship with God, I was naturally a friendlier person and was happy overall. So, yeah, man, throughout, the end of my senior year of high school, maybe even throughout high school, senior high school in general, I was just naturally I naturally had more energy. I naturally was friendlier. I naturally, I was full of life, because I just had God so heavily in my life. Um, every like I was praying so often, like it make like I would take time, like I set aside time when I was at home, take some time to like put some music in the background and pray. Um, if I couldn't do it in the morning, I would like do it on my drive to school. Cause my drive to school was like 3 to 5 minutes. It wasn't far at all. Um, and I would do it at night. I would set specific time. It would be a certain place in the house I would do it, and I would just pray. And I prayed throughout the day. Like I had God so heavily in my life. I had God carry me through everything. You know. So God was a big part of my life at that point in time. Still is, but I'm getting to it. Um, but yeah, I was just naturally a happier person overall. Just turn to God for everything. So when it came to no fap, semen retention, and celibacy, it was actually easy. It was easy because I wanted such a great connection with the Lord, and I wanted to make the most out of the last year of high school. Like lust took over. I would say the beginning 3 years of high school. And I wanted to finish high school off on a strong note, and I also wanted to like praise God for everything that He was doing at that point in time in my life, and just grow such a close connection to Him because I need Him. I know I'm saying I really need Him at that point. Still do, but at that point I really needed Him, and when I just focus on that and just focus on my growth and just being there for my family, um, it made it made that easy. It made that easier for me. Of course, I had urges and you know still doing those, but like it's made things easier, man. So when I went to go visit Jersey in June, senior year of high school, everyone saw a huge change in me because I was working out consistently at that point. Since I moved down to Florida, I was working out doing calisthenics because I didn't have a job, so I couldn't get a gym membership. But I was doing calisthenics. I went on YouTube, just did workouts there consistently. Um, I was over 100 plus days of retaining my seat at that point when I went to go visit. I think it was like 102, 105 days, something like that. But I was over 100 days in, and not viewing lust. So the whole time I wasn't viewing anything lustful. Um, and I had such a clear and positive mindset because I was living for God. And no matter what outside sources, this is the next point, no matter what outside sources had tried to mess with me at the time, and I put in parentheses in school, specifically with people in there and just like people like this situation, right? I'm not gonna go in detail about it, but no matter what tried to mess with me, I maintained I put in quotes, send love but keep distance mindset. When people don't like you, just send love their way, like genuine love, but keep your distance. Don't interact with them. Don't, but if they come to you, you can be friendly, say hello, send love, but just, you know, keep your distance, and that kept me in high spirits. And also, to the next point, I didn't talk badly about anybody, and kept close to God instead of the world. No matter what was going on, I did not talk bad about anybody. My mom didn't find out about what was going on in high school until like a year or two ago. So me finishing college already, or being close to finishing college, I told her, like she didn't know because I just did not talk bad about anybody at all. I did not. I was like, it feels bad internally when you talk bad about other people. So I just never did that. And plus, we're supposed to walk around with love. I never talk bad about people. Now, granted, there's a thing about kind of teaching people or like kind of sharing God's word about certain things people are doing wrong, right, and doing it that way. But to kind of just bash somebody, talk bad about them in that way, I was never that type of person, I've been doing that lately, past few months or so, which I won't say past few months, past like 2 months or so, which isn't good. But during this time, I wasn't doing that, um, and I was avoiding things of the world, I wasn't listening to certain music, I wasn't watching certain things, I wasn't, what I'm saying, like my mind was so focused on God that I wasn't into any of that stuff, Um, and the next point, avoiding things of the world and only things of God help even motivate my mom during our hard times, like we were going through hard times down there, and with me keeping that positive mindset and having this energy about myself, just in being in high spirits no matter what, it motivated my mom. She told me that. She told me that multiple times. Even my brother, who wasn't even down there, was motivated, just with me saying like, okay, we're going through stuff right now, but it's gonna pick up. God's gonna take, like, what I'm saying, like just having that positive mindset. I was able to help my mom out, and I noticed that, and that's why I had to, keep going with that. Keep living, keep living like Christ, and just keep being an example. So when we first got down there, right, it was my mom, not my mom. It was me, my dad, and my niece, right, or my dad, my niece, and I. Grammar. um, when we first got down there, right, my dad wasn't staying there, obviously. He's came down there with us, right. Um, my mom was working for my aunt at her group home, the entire time because her group home wasn't picking up, and you know, again, I'm not talking about anybody, but let's say my niece, sorry, not my niece, my aunt didn't treat my mom the best down there. When we saw my mom was super skinny, like super skinny, and just different things, like when my dad went back, I was taking care of my niece, and there were times where we went to, my aunt's group home to visit my mom, and my aunt kicked us out. My aunt kicked us out, and there were times where I had to buy food. Like I would buy food for my niece and I would also buy food for my mom, and I would make sure to give it to her. Like I would, make sure she ate, and that was when I first got down there. So me leaving Jersey, coming to Florida, for the first few months, I had to do this. I had to take care of my niece, who was 9 years old. I was 17 and she was 9, and I had to take care of my mom at the same time. So yeah, man. But I was able to do great with that because I was focusing, I got read. I'm trying to for my point. I was able to do great because I was focused and strong due to being high in the days for retaining, building up my channel and focusing on God to help my family situation. Yeah, so I was literally posting every day at that point. This is my no fab journey, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was doing that, building up the channel. Yeah, the channel was still no time, obviously. I was doing well in the retaining days, and I was focusing on God. By this point, this is like early that summer. So by that point, God was in my life, but I wasn't really focused on God as, like, as I was the next few months after that, and even now, So that's when I really turned to God because I had no one else to turn to. I had no one else to turn to, and it was tough. It was very tough, but we made it through, and everybody's happy and healthy, so no complaints there. Next point is, throughout my life, God has always been there for me and has never forsaken me or my family. He was always a huge part of my life and will continue to guide me throughout my current and future days. Like when I was having those thoughts over the weekend where I was thinking God forsaken me and I was on my own, and just things weren't going the right way. You know, like I was literally thinking like, man, life would be so much easier if, if everything just kind of stopped. Everything kind of stopped, and you know, I can just lay in bed forever. Like it got bad. It got bad over the weekend, but you know, God got me through that. Um, and God has never forsaken me. God has always been there for my family, and it's not until we take the time to stop and just talk to Him, like put away the music, put away the phones, put away the computers, and just take that time, like what I did last night. Just take the time and talk to God. Just sit there, hear Him out, listen to God, because all we want to do is talk. All we want to do is pray and talk and just say what we want, but we never want to hear what God has to tell us. You know, but when we stop and do that, we're able to see how He was always in our lives. He was always, you know, caring and protecting us. So, and one thing I forgot to say, senior year of high school, even though I was dealing with lust and things like that, and my Jersey high school and Florida high school, me focusing on God and just everything like that, man, my mindset changed and just things that I was dealing with. It was different, and I was able to make friends with both men and women in school, so that was cool. But here's the last point, man, and I don't know if it will help anybody, but this is kind of my life, It's kind of my life. It's kind of what I went through and what I'm going through, things like that. So even when there are days where I think He's left me, it's as He says in Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and of a good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, He it is that will go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee.